Last time I was in this room, it was for an annual event called the Chairman's Dinner, the FCBA Chairman's Dinner. The premise, every telecom lawyer in D.C. gathers in this room, and the chairman of the FCC tries to make them laugh. I emphasize try. Let's just say it can get a little ugly, and hopefully I can avoid any traumatic flashbacks today. But thank you all for welcoming me, and more important, for what you do. The proverbial bridge to the 21st century isn't made of just bricks and concrete. It's made of copper and fiber. You help build it and are helping every day, connecting our people, driving our economy, and strengthening our communities. CWA has always been at the cutting edge of technology and change, and America is looking to you to build and maintain the networks of the future. I take comfort in the knowledge that the skilled union workers of CWA are here to make sure that our communications infrastructure in the 21st century will be world-class. We are today, as so many of you know, at a crossroads. We're seeing the explosion of new communications technology that has changed how we connect to family and friends, how we work, how we participate in our great democracy. And we're on the verge of new breakthroughs that can vastly improve our economy and catalyze real investment and real job creation. And that can also advance core goals such as improving education and healthcare. These breakthroughs are reminiscent in many ways of when landline telephone began finding its way into every home, an achievement that you helped make possible. Another apt analogy is the advent of electricity in the 20th century, which transformed virtually every aspect of our society. At the FCC, we do think about what we can learn from history because it's vital that we lead the world in innovation and job creation in the 21st century as we did in the 20th. And I agree with CWA. Broadband is a fundamental building block to a successful economic future. Broadband is indispensable infrastructure of the digital age, powering everything from our personal devices to the global economy. Broadband is our 21st century platform for economic opportunity. Multiple studies tell us the same thing. Higher broadband adoption equals more jobs. An investment in broadband networks today is an investment in economic growth and jobs tomorrow. Broadband is also our 21st century national platform for solutions to major national challenges like education, healthcare, energy, and public safety. And broadband is our 21st century platform for citizen engagement and for effective and efficient government. Given the importance of broadband, it's important that we ask ourselves, how are we doing? Congress actually requires that we answer that question once a year. And just last week, FCC staff prepared our answer, to which a majority of the FCC agreed. The report found that while an impressive percentage of Americans have some access to broadband, up to 24 million people who live in rural America do not. They can't get high-speed internet, and we're not on track for timely deployment to those citizens. In addition, our average broadband speeds in the U.S. are too low, as are our overall broadband adoption rates. Some people saw this report and said, mission accomplished when it comes to broadband in America. Nothing more to do. I fundamentally disagree. When up to 24 million Americans don't have access to a communications technology that is essential to our participation in our 21st century economy and democracy, I say that is unacceptable. We are not where we should be, not where we must be. We are at risk in the global race for leadership and innovation. We are at risk that the next generation of communications-related jobs will be created overseas instead of in the U.S. I don't think we should rest until we connect every corner of this country and lead the world in broadband. Instead of patting ourselves on the back, we need to get to work. According to multiple studies, the U.S. is not in the top 10 globally when it comes to broadband speeds and penetration. We've got work to do. An important study ranked the U.S. 40th out of 40 industrial countries in the survey on the rate of change of innovative capacity. Last, we've got work to do. Consumers in other countries like Japan and France are paying less for broadband and getting faster connections. We've got work to do. 93 million Americans, 35% of our citizens, have not adopted broadband. We've got work to do. The adoption rate among low-income Americans, minorities, people with disabilities, seniors, all less than 50%. In Indian country, a sad 10%. We've got work to do. These low adoption rates are a cause for concern, not only because of their impact on America's capacity to lead the world in innovation, but also because the costs of digital exclusion are rising. Example, job postings of more and more companies are moving to the web and require online applications. If you don't have online access and digital skills, you increasingly can't find or land a job. We've got to tackle that. At one time, broadband may have been a convenience. Now it is essential to 21st century citizenship and participation in our economy. You get it. 4 years ago, CWA started a campaign called Speed Matters, which called for government action in partnership with the private sector to stimulate broadband investment and adoption in America. You said, quote, "We are falling behind because the United States is the only industrialized country without a national policy to promote universal, affordable, high-speed internet access." You were right. Congress and the White House heard your call, and as part of the Recovery Act, the FCC was asked to develop America's first ever national broadband plan, which we released in March with strong input from CWA, and Larry, thank you for mentioning it. The plan is an ambitious strategy to promote private investment and job creation by building a world-class broadband infrastructure that unleashes innovation and brings the benefit of high-speed internet to all Americans. Achieving these goals will drive not only economic growth and our global competitiveness, it will drive solutions to national challenges like health and education, it will help us build sustainable communities, and will encourage broad participation in our democracy and more effective and efficient government. So what exactly is in the plan? First, we set ambitious goals. A common theme of the goals, if you allow me to borrow your phrase, speed matters. We call for affordable 100 megabit per second connections to 100 million households by 2020, our 100 Squared initiative, and affordable 50 megabits to 100 million homes by 2015. We set a goal of at least 1 gigabit per second service to at least one anchor institution in every community in the country. For universal service funding, we target an initial minimum of 4 megabits per second, which is a 20-fold increase over the old 200 kilobit standard and faster than any other country's standard for funding for universal service. And we expect that 4 megabit standard to evolve over time. These would all be actual speeds, by the way, not merely as advertised. We set a goal of 90% broadband adoption by 2020 on the way to 100%. This would be an adoption curve for broadband faster even than the adoption rate for telephone service. To achieve these goals, the plan includes concrete recommendations on infrastructure deployment, adoption, and the development of innovative solutions to national challenges. We at the FCC, as well as other federal agencies, are already moving aggressively to implement many of these recommendations. Let's start with infrastructure deployment. The plan calls for the removal of barriers and the smart allocation of government resources to encourage private investment in both wired and wireless networks. We're moving on this. For example, by our order, recently cutting red tape to increase the speed of tower siting, and by the proceeding we initiated to provide timely economical access to poles and rights of way. These will help get more deployment faster. The plan calls for the reallocation of 500 megahertz of spectrum so that we have a mobile infrastructure that leads the world in speed, service, and innovation. The President recently endorsed this proposal and launched the administration's wireless broadband initiative to free up spectrum and catalyze more private investment and job creation around mobile networks. The plan also proposes modernizing our universal service fund from supporting telephone service to tomorrow's broadband access service. This will provide resources for the deployment of broadband to locations where there's no private sector business case for investment without a meaningful public-private partnership. These proposals to drive broadband deployment and speeds will create jobs in building and operating the network as well as on the edge of the network. Now, how do we increase broadband adoption? One significant barrier to broadband adoption is affordability. And so we propose transforming our Lifeline and link-up programs, which help needy people pay their telephone business bills, to apply to broadband. Another barrier to adoption is digital literacy. The plan proposes establishing a digital literacy corps to make sure all Americans have the skills they need to be active participants in 21st century society. The plan also includes solutions to national challenges like education and healthcare. Take healthcare. CWA has worked tirelessly through the years to make sure every person in America has access to high-quality, affordable healthcare. You just scored a major victory on this front. The National Broadband Plan would build on the progress you helped make possible. Nearly 30% of federally funded rural healthcare clinics lack access to adequate broadband. We need to connect those facilities. 2 weeks ago, the Commission moved forward with a proceeding to modernize our rural healthcare program and extend connectivity in a significant way to clinics and hospitals that now don't have adequate service. And just a few hours ago, I was with FDA Commissioner Peggy Hamburg to announce that our agencies will be moving forward on the broadband plan's recommendation to unleash investment in communications-related medical devices by increasing the predictability and speed of regulatory approvals while protecting the public's health and safety. I believe these initiatives can catalyze the spending of investment dollars sitting on the sidelines, spur innovation, the launch of new devices and infrastructure, and yes, create jobs. In the early 20th century, America's communications workers helped build and service a telephone network that connected our nation and forever changed the way we communicate. Today, our nation faces a new infrastructure challenge whose potential to transform our economy and our nation is even greater. Building and maintaining a world-leading broadband infrastructure that's available to all Americans will drive robust economic growth and job creation and improve our global competitiveness. It will open up new worlds of learning for our children, improve the quality of health care while reducing costs, empower first responders, and make our communities safer. It will help us realize the fundamental promise of opportunity for all, of course, a bedrock principle of our nation. As I said earlier, we're not where we need to be. No one knows more than you about what it takes to get things done in our communities and in Washington. We need your ongoing input and your help to seize the opportunities of the internet and bring the benefits of broadband to all Americans. We've got work to do, and with your help, we can succeed. Thank you.